Hello, good day class. So today, before we start with our discussion, let me read to you our objective for this subject, the contemporary world. Okay, so first objective, familiarize students with the principles and central ideas of important globalization theories that they are likely to encounter in the social science discipline. Second, demystify the concept of globalization and help students see the application of global structures and processes in their everyday activities. Next, help students become more systematic and thoughtful critical thinkers. And lastly, we have to provide students with an overview and brief history of how globalization as an intellectual topic is developing. Okay, so let's proceed to what is globalization, or let's define globalization. So much has changed since time immemorial. Human beings have encountered many changes over the last century, especially in their social relationships and social structures. Of these changes, one can say that globalization is a very important change, if not the most important. The reality and omnipresence of globalization makes us see ourselves as part of, we refer to as the global age. The internet, for example, allows us a person from the Philippines to know what is happening to the rest of the world simply by browsing Google. The mass media is also allows for connections among people, communities, and countries all over the globe. So what is globalization, do you think, class? The question is probably an easy one to answer. However, many scholars gave and tried to formulate its definition. This resulted in different, sometimes contradicting views about the concept. It cannot be contained within a specific time frame, all people in all situations. Aside from this, globalization encompasses a multitude of processes that involves the economy, political systems, and culture. Social structure, therefore, are directly affected by globalization. So you have to take note this, guys, that globalization have this component. Okay? So paki-take note, guys. Ito yung economy, political systems, and culture. These three has touched by globalization. When you say globalization, guys, ito yung pag-develop ng ating what? Any factor, any element of our country or nationwide, this is globalization. Any development is through globalization, or that is what? Papunta na siyang globalization. When you say globalization, this is close to development. Okay? So over the years, globalization has gained many connotations pertaining to progress. Yan yung sabi ko na development. And integration. On the one hand, some view globalization as a positive phenomenon. When you say development, di ba, that is a positive aspect. Because you are progressing. Nagpa-progress tayo, guys, and also nagde-develop tayo in any point of our life, or at any point of our lives, at anything at our lives, or any aspect of our lives is developing, as well as our country. So that is globalization. Okay? So the task of defining globalization, since its first appearance in the Webster's Dictionary in 1961, many opinions about globalization have flourished. The literature on the definitions of globalization revealed that definitions could be classified as either broad and inclusive, narrow and inclusive. Okay, so globalization means the onset of the borderless world. When you say borderless world, this is no limitations. Okay? Our development, our world development has no limitations. Okay? So when it comes to what? Innovations, inventions, or any aspect of our world development. Okay? So one aspect of globalization is, okay guys, yung sinasabi nating internet. Diba? When you are in the internet, you can browse everything. You can see what is happening sa Dubai or in other countries. Okay? You can see what is the latest news, not only in Mindanao, but also in Luzon. Okay? We can hear the news about any other country. Okay? That is globalization because we have access in the world. So, no matter how one classifies a definition of globalization, the concept is complex and multifaceted as the definitions deal with either economical, political, or social dimensions. Okay, sa economic. Okay? 'Di ba? For example, the Singapore before is not that kind of they don't have that economic progress that we are seeing right now. Singapore before is something like, what kind of world is that? 'Di ba? May mga third world country, may mga ganyan tayo, first world country. So yung Singapore before hindi gaano ka-develop. So right now, as we can see, Singapore has one of the best economic progress dito sa Asia. Okay, that is what globalization means. Another is a political. When you say political, 'di ba, before we have prince and princess, okay, o king and queens, okay? Pag ang bansa ay monopoly, okay? So ngayon, that is what? May tinatawag na tayong integration. Integration of a prime minister. May mga prime minister na yung mga bansa na what? Na inaano ng mga king and queens, okay? So may mga prime ministers na. So overall, globalization is a concept that is not easy to define because in reality, globalization has a shifting nature. It is complex, multifaceted, and can be influenced by people who define it. Moreover, the issues and concerns involving globalization have a wide range, from individual to society, from small communities to nations and states, and from the benefits we can gain from it to cost it could carry. So in this article, the globalization of nothing, research 2003 said, attitude towards globalization depend among other things on whether one gains or loses from it. Okay? So, di ba sa globalization, na-touch din sa globalization ang culture. When you say culture is changing. Okay? So, for example, sa atua, di ba? In every generations, merong sumisikat na na when you say sumisikat na parang uso. Okay, for example, yung mga dati na generation, uso yung Jejemon. Ngayon, ano nang uso ngayon? 'Di ba? Millennials, okay? So mayroon na tayong mga millennial terms, centennials, Generation X, okay? So it means the culture is changing from into primitive one, when you say primitive one, yung mga mga natives, okay? From into high technology generation, okay? That is the time when we are using high technology aspects. Okay, so let's proceed to the metaphors of globalization. So in order for us to better understand the concept of globalization, we will utilize metaphors. So metaphors makes use of one term to help us better understand another term. So when you say metaphor of globalization, we have to use metaphor so that we could deeply understand what is globalization. Metaphor, guys, is using some things that can help show or define thing. Okay, so for example, globalization as solid and liquid. Okay? So, gi-compare ang globalization into solid and liquid. So, the epochs that preceded today's globalization paved way for people, things, information, and places to harden over time. Consequently, they have limited mobility. So, the social relationship and objects remained where they were created. So, first, sa solid tayo. So, solidity also refers to the barriers that prevent or make difficult the movement of things, 'di ba? Sa science, we have solid and liquid. When you say solid, it is what? The content is what? The content is not changing or solidified siya. Hindi siya nag-change, okay? Unlike sa liquid can what? Can change its forms. Okay? Sa solid, it cannot change its forms because nga na yung form. That's why ginatawag siya nga solid. Okay? Just like sa globalization. Globalization daw is solid because it refers to the barrier that prevent or make difficult the movement of things. Furthermore, solids can either be natural or man-made. So examples of natural solids are landforms or man-made barriers, including the Great Wall of China and the Berlin Wall. So an imaginary line such as the 9-dash line used by People's Republic of China in their claim to the South China Sea is an example of modern man-made solid. Okay, so mga structure or solid structures, that is what? One of the implication of globalization. So let's proceed to liquid. Liquid as a state of matter takes the shape of its container. Moreover, liquids are not fixed, 'di ba? Sabi ko nga, liquid is changing. Okay? They can form into many forms. Okay. Today's liquid phenomena change quickly in their aspects, spatial and temporal, are in continuous fluctuation. This means that space and time are crucial elements of globalization. In global finance, for instance, changes in the stock market are a matter of seconds. Okay? Every changing of culture or every changing of structure or something or a situation is what we call, or sometimes it is what? It is referred to as liquid. Parang liquid siya because it is changing. Okay? So liquidity and solidity are in constant interaction. However, liquidity is the one increasing and proliferating today. Therefore, the metaphor that could best describe globalization is liquidity. Okay, so yung globalization daw is parang liquid because it is constantly changing. Nagche-change siya over time. Just like our economic development. Okay, from the word itself, development. This is developing. Okay? So parang nagpa-progress siya or progressive siya over time. Okay? Just like Polomolok. Polomolok before is not like this. 'Di ba? Naanay mga big establishments like Gaisano. Dati kay unsa lang na siya dire, GW More. Okay, is the only market that we can hold on to. But now, 'di ba, you can see daghan ng mga business establishment o daghan ng mga economic establishment that could provide us work. Okay, so let's proceed to the flows. So the previous section described the melting process of a solid phenomena followed by the increase in liquidity. It is only logical to discuss the flows of liquid phenomena. So flows are the movement of people, things, places, and information brought by growing porosity of global limitations. think of the different foreign cuisines being patronized and consumed by Filipinos. Okay? Aside from local dishes, many of us are fond of eating sushi, ramen, hamburger, and French fries because these are the foods introduced to us by foreign cultures. Clearly, foods are being globalized, okay? So may mga interaction between countries, just like what? So for example, kung maka-K-pop ka, di ba? When you are into Korean pop culture, you are tend to watch what? Korean movies, Korean music videos. So for example, sa Korean movies, nakikita mo kumakain si Lee Min Ho ng anong tawag doon? Samgyeopsal, okay? So with that, you are what? You want to eat samgyeopsal or you want to try eating samgyeopsal too, 'di ba? Nakikita mo sa TV tapos in your mind, you want to eat something like that. So, nag-order ka because nakikita mo maraming post or in demand or trending ngayon ang pagkaing samgyeopsal sa internet. That's why you are what? You like to order something like that so that para matry mo kung anong klaseng pagkain yon. Okay? Just like kimchi. 'Di ba nakikita natin sa television, sarap na sarap kumain ng kimchi yung mga Koreano. 'Di ba? So with that, you want to try also eating that kimchi. So pag tilaw ninyo sa kimchi, halang mandiay, pait mandiay. So with that, you have experienced something of the other country's cuisine. Okay? So that is what globalization means. Okay? So ang main point sa atong discussion for this day is that what? Globalization is something or it has something to do with development and progress because it is like a liquid because it is constantly changing. Okay? So if you have question, guys, you can comment down your questions and your concerns. So recording lang akong gigamit, guys, so that straight ang ako ang discussion and what? You can review you can review some topics or mga ideas sa kini nga recording. Pwede niyo siya ma-forward, pwede niyo siya ma-backward or rewind. Okay? So with this, answer this question. You have to attach this question and pass it tomorrow, same time. So the question is, what do you think is the importance of defining globalization? Again, what do you think is the importance of defining globalization? Okay? So, mao ni siya ang question, guys, and then you have to attach it tomorrow. Okay? Mag-a-attach ako ng assignment and then you have to answer this one sa attached files. Okay? So if you don't have any concerns, so thank you and you may also subscribe to this channel, okay? Na ako YouTube channel sa YouTube that you can subscribe para makip or para updated tayo sa kahit anumang topics or podcast na aking i-upload. Okay? So thank you and good day.